Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouters Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouter. It's a Monday morning, and Grumpy, as always, is in the house on a Monday. Totally grumpy today. I'm pretty sure my German is a little rusty, but that's not how Guten Morgen is in
It's
in German.
close enough. We're grieving.
What's going on, man? You still grieving, or
No,
where are we
it's
at?
well. I think it'll take a while for everything to really process as much as we'd like it to. It's Dutch.
Oh, it's Dutch.
It's for Schlot. Look at you. See, Cersei's already moved on.
He's with.
It's like, yeah, I got it all out yesterday. It's fine.
He's like, German. The new manager is Dutch.
You idiots. Yeah, it'll take a while, but I think yesterday was quite the emotional day, and I think I got out everything I needed to. And then this morning, I woke up and I saw the interview with Trent on the field. I was like, "Yep, that got me again." So it'll probably come in waves, but for the most part, it's definitely more of an appreciation and a happiness of what we had rather than a sadness of what is gone.
Yeah, I actually thought I was not going to be able to watch any of it, like including the game. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to catch up with everything at night and stuff because we're going to Jasmine's graduation. But then Angel didn't trust me driving with like listening to the game or an eye on the game kind of a thing. Like the phone was going to be on the side. So I did end up watching the game, and then we were waiting for Jazz. I actually watched the whole freaking thing, which I'm glad actually Peacock was smart enough to kind of like stay there and show the whole thing. And we didn't go to the studios or something stupid like that because that would break my phone.
I was gonna say it would have been even smarter though if they had Martin Tyler and Jim Beglin shut the hell up for the entirety of it, because it wasn't often, but the moments where they started talking, you just sit there and go, "No, I don't need this. I don't want this. Please stop."
The problem is, as always, asshole Martin Tyler, who cannot have a voice cord accident. I'm praying every morning and every night. But because like he says something, so like Jim is like, well, I guess I got to say something now. And there were literally times that we're talking over Klopp, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares what you guys are saying right now. But yeah, I mean, from beginning to end, I thought it was probably the best it could be. Right? It couldn't have been any more well done from like the ceremony, obviously the game beforehand. I was actually really shocked how up for it they were, knowing the kind of practices they had, the stuff they had throughout the week and stuff like that. The team looked really up for it, especially in the beginning and the first half and stuff like that. Kind of like started running out of gas. You could tell probably because of those events and practices during the week. But yeah, and then like his speech, and I think that's the thing, like you're like, this guy, and then like he gives that speech, and you're like, yes, this is exactly why. I mean, especially the parts where he sets up Arnie, I thought that was like so freaking classy.
We're never gonna see anything like that again. I think it was an incredible way to really show support and really to signal that because he said, "I am one of you now." And that was, I think, the best way to show that, like, look, I am going to be cheering on just like the rest of you. This is who we support now. And I just love that, because Kazi on Friday said that he was like, is Schlatt the manager? Like, because there hasn't been any official award yet. So I like how we've gotten Romano, we've gotten Sky Sports, we've gotten now Jurgen Klopp singing Schlatt's name without an official announcement. So I think
you got Arnie saying it too.
I think it's pretty official, you guys. I think it's pretty official.
Yeah, so it just says everyone but Liverpool have confirmed. I think that was, I mean, I was actually shocked. I thought I would have woken up to it today. Maybe they're waiting for the dust to settle or waiting for him to come over there or something like that. But yeah, I think that was all out of like respect. And I'm sure the guy doesn't want to come in before the other guy has moved out. You can't bring your own furniture in before the other furniture is moved out, kind of a deal. So, that was, I think, smartly done too. And honestly, like looking at the entire yesterday and like the stuff he says, and how the whole thing unfolded, kind of like gave a different perspective. I've been kind of like back and forth on the timing of his announcements, but when you watch all the stuff that he says and how he kind of did this last day and stuff like that, he's more about the people and everybody's future as opposed to like making it about him, or like thinking about like what's gonna how it's like gonna affect it on the pitch. He's more worried about the humans that are gonna be affected.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean whether it was announced when it was or it leaked at some other time or it was announced later or earlier, I think we would have gone through a similar thing. No matter how the season ended, it would have still gone this same way because that's just who he's been since not since he's been at the club, but since he's been playing. You know, since he's
Yeah.
been growing up, that's just who he is as a person. He's just had a much bigger platform now to really show that that's who he is and this is what he can do with it. And yeah, I think it was the best way to end the chapter. I mean, I'm not going to say the best way. Obviously, the best way to end the chapter would have probably been winning the Premier League title, because I think the only thing that we will always have, unfortunately, is never quite having that moment of them celebrating the league with the fans as much as we're happy we won the league, obviously, and it's going to be one of the greatest achievements for him. It just still feels like we kind of got cheated out of a real celebration. But obviously, more important things are going on in the world, and I think that comes back to Klopp's point, right? Like he doesn't regret anything. He did everything that he could, and you know, at the end of the day, there are more important things than this sport. This sport helps keep people together, but once you're together, you know, you can break through a lot. You can go through a lot of adversity. And, you know, yes, the sport got you there. It doesn't mean it has to be the end.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. As you listen to the guy, and that's what I like the most about him is the fact that, you know, I mean, you're a lot younger guy than I am. It's like a lot of good, like life lessons in there in terms of not only like, yeah, like you said, like the game, how to look at the game or how to view the game and stuff like that and how it relates to life and all that. But just in general, like how he thinks of things in terms of, I mean, as a guy who I'm like, say, I'm not a religious guy, but I really like how he views that kind of stuff. And he views, I know, a guy like me who's not religious, for example, and stuff like that. And, you know, like overall, like the way he looks at life and stuff is what I really um, admire about the guy more than anything else. I think it's like what a man kind of a thing, that as opposed to just, oh, what a manager. He was a tactical genius and stuff. I don't think, you know, years back, I'm not going to look back at these years. Maybe when we talk Pep, we can be like, you know, say stuff like that with Linders and stuff. Or even like with Guardiola, you can say like different things and shit. But with Klopp, I don't think I'm going to be like, oh, he was a tactical genius. All those substitutions he would make and stuff. It's just going to be about, you know, what kind of a dude he was and what he did to the club and everything. Ryan says the first breakdown for me was at the 9th minute. Honestly, if you're driving, well, she's driving, I'm watching, and I was like, are they singing like Bobby, like in the background kind of a thing? But I thought that was really cool. The fans were like really into it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't lose it then. I don't think I lost it till I thought that was like a really, and there has to be a photo like that. That's pretty iconic where he's the only one left standing on the wall, like as after Pep goes, like he's waiting for his turn and stuff. I think that's what it was. The night before we were watching some stuff, and I was like, man, and it all goes back to like what a guy kind of thing. Sergi says, are either of you disappointed like I am that the Edwards and Co never turned up? No, actually, I'm the complete opposite. I don't know where you're at, Matush, but
Yeah,
this was all about Klopp, not the new
yeah,
guys or anything like that. So I
I
figured they probably were like, no, this is his thing. It should be him. Maybe
look.
they're gonna be like fighting over something they argued over before.
I
You
was gonna
don't.
say, I think we didn't need any more storylines made up from everything that was going on yesterday. So to add that, and then
Oh, for fuck's sakes, yes, thank you.
having one like, oh, did you see the way that Edwards looked at Klopp when he was fist bumping? Like they might actually really hate each other. You guys know I think I'm fine with everything as it was, and it was really about the Klopp. It was about the Klopp. It was about Klopp. It was about the coaching staff, right? That's what it was. That's what it was about. And just to piggyback quickly off of Ryan's point and your point, it was, you know, I heard Bobby's song and I was like, this is really cute. But it's once then they started singing Genie's song.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh shit, they're going through the catalog. Like
Yep.
that's the moment where it started, because to me, I'm thinking back all the years, like, oh, this is not going to be good. And they just keep going. They go to Divock Origi, and it keeps going. And yeah, that was So it wasn't quite the Bobby moment, but it was the weirdly enough the Wijnaldum one where it's just like, ah, shit,
Really?
here we go. Because all of a sudden I thought, okay, we're about to just hit every single thing that he's been here through. Like this is what he created. And yeah, that was it was little trickles, and obviously didn't really start coming down till I think the breaking point was him and Linder's hugging once all of the staff had gone for the turn. It was just them two, and that was a big point. And then Trent's face during when the crowd was singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." That was also a tough one. That was a tough one.
That Bobby song got me in the sense that like I wasn't like, you know, didn't get emotional over it. It was more about I think of Bobby when I think of that era for some reason, because he is my like probably favorite player of that era, in the sense that I think he was everything. Like he was the system. That whole like, you know, you look at Bobby, you know, you watch the game like that, and like the selfless play, how good he was, how classy he was, how technical he was and stuff like that. I mean, he's probably like my favorite player. I mean, I got really emotional when Bobby was leaving, when he's like standing in front of the stands and they're singing a song to him and stuff like that. I got emotional down watching that, because that to me, yeah, Nick says ended there. I think it was just, I don't know, like he was everything, embodied everything of that team, I thought, because like selfless, run until the end, do things for others, but then had so much quality at the same time. Yeah, that was probably like my favorite player. So when I heard the song, it was more about like bringing memories, like, oh man, like just gonna, and that's what it's gonna be like anytime Bobby comes up. I think I'm gonna probably like miss it more than, I don't know, like, you know, love Mo and stuff. And can we like, God, we'll get to that probably, but Jesus freaking Christ, like Mo was frowning and doing this and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way. Now I know why Nunez can't do a whole lot. Did you see the speech that he was giving in the locker room after the game, like when they first ran in? Mo was listening over there, so I hope freaking like people who were paying
he even
attention.
clapped at the end.
He did, and did you see Gakpo wasn't listening and pulling his socks instead? No.
Konate was taking off his shoes while the manager was speaking.
Yes, and Nunez wasn't even listening because probably he's not getting a word out of that was coming out. And I was like, there are our problems right here. But yeah, the whole Mo thing like really was, and you knew the media would just like fuel it, and I could not believe, even on our Discord channel it was there, but I look outside, people are just like, holy cow, you guys really took the bait on that one and running with it.
And even bait in different ways, because some people were saying, you know, oh, look at Mo, he looks so disinterested, and he's not happy for Klopp, he's not sad that Klopp's leaving. And then you had the other group that were saying, oh, look at Mo, he's so ready to have life after Klopp. He's so excited. He's just trying to hide it. And I'm like, what is everyone doing? This is ridiculous. Let's just curb this for a moment. And let's just stop. Just today, even.
That's the part I didn't understand. It was like, look at him. He's not even like emotional. He's definitely leaving. I'm like, well, if it wasn't emotional, wouldn't he be like, thank God this guy is gone and stay? Yeah. Like, wouldn't that make more sense? Why would he leave if the guy is like, Edwards just coming back, everybody's coming back? He would be like, oh man, thank God Klopp is gone, if he was really hating it that much. I mean, you can clearly see, you know, like Mo has probably more of an ego. We talked about this, I think, way back in the past in terms of like this team overall being selfless, but some players having a bigger ego than maybe others. And Mo is one of them. And, you know, why wouldn't he? Weren't we saying a couple of years ago that he was one of the best in the world? So shouldn't he have a ego? Nick says, and this is a hot take, I'll give it that. That is definitely a hot take, that at the end was entirely which, you know what the odd thing is? I thought I was like, holy shit, they're gonna give one of those to everybody, kind of a thing. But like the assistants, but at the same time, that was probably just me and maybe Nick, because Ryan says he was more emotional over the coaching staff over Klopp. Where were you at with that?
I think given the decision to not have the parade and to then just do this, I don't think it was then too drawn out. I think if there was to be a parade as well, then yeah, it was probably going to be too drawn out because there's going to be it's going to be way too much to have all of that. But the fact that the decision of just making this the celebration at the end of the season and the end of the tenure and all that, I think it was perfectly fine. I think, I kind of expected Klopp to have an even longer speech. I think it was only like 10, 11 minutes. It felt like it flew by pretty quickly.
Oh, was it that long? Yeah, see, it didn't feel that long to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, for me, it didn't feel like I can sense part of it with the coaching staff. Like, I wonder if you could have grouped some of them together, if you will.
Holding hands.
But I do think it was a good touch to appreciate their individual efforts as much as the efforts of Klopp, because I think Klopp will say as well that there were many moments that, Pep himself had the reins over what needed to be done. Like, especially, I think that Champions League final against Spurs. I think Klopp mentioned that he just told Pep, like, "Look, I've lost too many of these. You need to tell me what to do here."
They had to. Yeah, the echo was kind of like a yes, and I don't know. Yeah, I think the dude was trying to do an interview, but you kind of knew. You just had to light the fuse and give him the microphone and have him run with it anyway. I think it was going to be like a Q&A session, he thought, and he was just going to be like, "Do you have something to say?" Kind of like what it did with like Stevie on the last day, whereas Klopp was like, "Yeah, give me that," and then he just ran with it. So as he says, "Oh, sorry, wrong one." People are like noisy neighbors just making shit up because it suits their narrative. Everyone, it reminded me of the whole like Mane thing for a while, where we're just like, Mo scored, but Mane was not smiling, or he didn't celebrate as much as the others. So, because my thing is, if Mo is over there, first of all, some of these guys are not, they're football players. They're not good actors. And I know a lot of people in my life who think they're acting. And I was like, dude, I'd rather have you not act because you can't act. And this looks cheesy as fuck kind of a thing. So if he was over there, like or crying or fake crying or some shit like that, like putting like teardrops or something like that, everybody's going to be like, oh, like Mo is faking it and stuff. I mean, it's just like you can't win. It kind of like reminded me of like Mane is not smiling when Mo scores bullshits that people were running away with.
John, can you please make a GIF of Timochin doing that so that we can use that as a response to comments and whatnot on Discord? Thanks very much.
Don't you dare, John.
Note for the editor.
When Edwards is still here and the club success has been so yes. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Look, and Cersei is checking out freaking Linda.
Well, okay.
One eye is crying, the other eye is checking out Linda.
I will say, I think Kazi posted it this morning in the Discord. Her story of City's tweet of "this means four" and saying so glad that you guys could think of us during this time. That is just the perfect thing to say in that moment, because they're so rattled by that little comment that Trent made so many months ago. And it's just you know that tweet was ready to go, just set up for that moment.
Yes.
And it seems so, rather than celebrating your club and celebrating your players and celebrating your coach and chanting their names, like, you're always talking about us. Always. It's just
just the fact that you see those viewing numbers from yesterday.
Yeah, and I did. I think it was Sky Sports, especially. I think it was like 63% were watching the Liverpool, and 20-something odd percent was City. And I think there are some things there. I know that if I am a fan of a club, I don't particularly want to watch the title celebrations of a different club. And so I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't watch that just for that reason. And I do think that this was a big enough moment. Like, Klopp leaving is going to happen one time. City winning the title has happened too many times in this now becoming Farmer League.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing, though, is that it wasn't just, I know some people were saying because City has just won so much, but it wasn't just a title. It was a fourth consecutive title. It was a record-breaking title.
Yeah.
So you would think that maybe there would be a little bit more numbers, but yeah, I'll take that with a grain of salt, because I would have much rather won a title, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what Nick is saying. He'll take the title over the banter and the banner. Are you calling second dibs on Linda then?
No,
when
no,
John
no.
kicks the
Kazi,
thing?
no.
Because Linda.
I think Cersei is second dibs. He'd punch me.
Oh,
First.
okay. Because I don't know if Michelle is gonna like these dibs that you're like taking on like Linda. But does Linda have like a, or is she wearing the same dress over and over again? Because I'm not paying attention to the dress, but or she does have like a Liverpool closet where there's like 20 different red dresses and she's like rotating them.
It's clear to me that you don't care about the fashion too much.
No, I do not.
Dresses are all so different.
My apologies. My apologies, oh fashion master.
I haven't even noticed that. I'll have to go look and like.
Wait, you haven't noticed that she wears red every time?
No, I noticed she wears red every time.
She's like Wonder Woman,
but...
like she's like.
Okay, fine. Let me
do like a Linda. We should do like a Linda. You know what? Summer is here, so it's going to be hard to find content on a daily basis. So we'll have a day where we just go through the different red dresses Linda has worn over the years. We'll have segments.
How to dress like Linda at a Liverpool game. It looks like they're all a little bit different.
I mean, I would think so, but then you would think there's like, you know. I'm sure they're like all designer stuff. As a designer, like I mean, I can only do so much with fucking red over here.
Could you say that our kits it's the same way? You know why keep buying new home kits? That it's
why is she not
anyway?
Wearing like a red dress with yellow stripes and saying like this is my designer based it on Roma 84 or something?
Because they couldn't finish the collar.
See, this is why you're here. This is why you're here.
I will say, and I said this I think when it first came out. I do like these kits, and I do see
I thought you were talking about Linda's dress. Like, hold on. I'm like, why did the dress come out?
No, I am a fan of the kits. I think some people's opinions are changing now that they've seen them on the players and on the field as well. I still think it's really weird that a lot of people in the fan groups were spending so much of their energy complaining about other people liking the kit, because that's weird. So yeah, that's my last thing about the kit for now.
But Cersei says he'll subscribe twice if we do the dresses over the years of Linda. All so right. That might be, we might have to assign a contributor for that task over there. Klopp is a German manager of a huge English club. I thought that was like the whole like the German heart and stuff like that, which I know, especially there's not a lot of like love between those two countries in general. And Germans have let's face it, Germans have a certain stereotype in Europe. The English do.
There's not a lot of love. There's not a lot of love between Liverpool and the rest of England as well, though, right? That's
fair.
That's part of a difference too. Is that it's Scouse, not English, right? So I think you don't have to have that much more convincing. Yeah,
that's a good point actually. But that might probably help. Difference between Pep's relationship with his fans and Klopp with ours. I mean, hard to blame Pep for his relationship. I think he probably wishes. I thought his thing was really nice yesterday too, and pretty much admitting that. I thought he was just gonna come out and like, it was gonna be like a Law and Order episode where the music kicks in and he admits everything. We're like, yes, all the violations or something like that. But he got close. He did the, like obviously I had people behind me with chainsaws and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. It looked better being worn, but I'm not sold, says Brian. I agree. But I rarely find like a home kits. I think like the only one I bought is the one that has like a coral stripes or something like that going across. Because I thought it was different.
Was that?
I don't know. Like this whole jersey thing. We talked about this before. Like people get into huge fights over jerseys. It's like fighting over which Linda dress is better to me. Like, it's like you like that one, I like this one, whatever.
And then we're so excited to go with Adidas because they're so unique, and they've been doing copy paste kits for other clubs across the world too, as if that's not happening either. It's silly.
I think people like New Balance and said, "Oh, they're doing special for us." Well, that's because New Balance doesn't do a lot of kits. Like it was like Nike and Adidas, they have multiple teams. Yeah, you will see a lot more duplicates probably out there. And it might not be because yours is a duplicate, but when, I don't know, Rotterdam comes over and be like, yeah, we need a kit too. They're like, why don't we check the Liverpool kits? Change the colors to fit you guys kind of a thing. So, that was why I thought everybody was like, oh, New Balance. But then you could never find New Balance kits freaking anywhere,
Right.
even at New Balance stores, at least in the US. So I don't know. As long as the money comes in, we're gonna be liking anyway. Adidas, Carlsberg.
Well, that's
and Klopp.
that's a different story. Now, if we get Carlsberg back on the kits, like
That'd be nice.
you could make the kit look like anything. That's fine.
It could be any color. That's fine.
Oh,
So okay, let's the truth serve over here. Did we do ugly crying?
no, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Is Michelle
And
there? Can we
yeah, she can
verify
confirm
this?
with her. You can confirm with her. She was sitting right next to me the entire time. There was no. It was not ugly crying.
Did Michelle ugly cry?
No, she did cry.
Okay.
She's, it's just a lot of emotions going on, but
Well,
not ugly.
I think most of that is us seeing us teary-eyed.
She's like, you didn't even look like this during our wedding.
I think that's what it is. They were like, "Holy shit!" Even he got emotional.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't ugly crying, but there were tears. There were copious amounts of tears.
I'll go with that one. What he said for Ryan's comment there.
No,
Because
it's
of
like-
never happening again due to alcohol sponsorship. I mean, all sponsorships end. There's like a ending day with it, so I can see. Don't kill the dream, man. Don't kill the dream. Really? Yeah. See, Angie got teary-eyed, but I don't know. Angie's not a good gauge on these things because Angie does get teary-eyed easy on movies and stuff too. So I don't know. We watched a couple of like that Sky Sports one. I mean, I got teary-eyed. I don't know. I was in Milwaukee. The allergy, the freaking Poland over there, people out of this world. Like got like teary-eyed just like listening to him, or there was like extreme watering of eyes. But yeah, no ugly crying. But I mean, going back to I think was somebody was saying in the comments earlier. I think part of it is more like what a great dude this dude is, more than anything else for being emotional. Because I think going back to where the club is, like I never got that feeling, especially I did initially, but as the pieces are put together with Edwards and Ward and Hughes and all that kind of stuff, and now Slot, I feel like I'm not as worried. Like, what are we gonna do? Kind of a concern or worry or anything like that. It's more like dude is a great dude, and like from like his managing to getting the city and leading a club and stuff like that, the stuff he says, like I was saying, I mean, I keep going back to that, like the stuff he says. So it was more about being emotional about any good dude leaving. Gotta say I didn't cry, but welled up a bit. Yeah, welled up is a good word. I'll roll with that, Dom. I'll go with that. When the camera turned on Trent, yes. So if you were making stories, right? That's why I made the story.
So many stories there,
right? If you're making the stories of like, he must be leaving. That's why he's crying and stuff. It's so easy to like look at a reaction and like fit it to your story.
He's going to Madrid. He's going to Madrid. He's linking up with Jude.
Nothing to do with Klopp. Nothing to do with Klopp. Actually, yes, I will agree with this. When they hugged and Verge, I don't know because it's
this moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when and then you can kind of tell like when they go apart, like he was kind of crying, his eyes are all red and stuff like that. Is that because it's Verge and we normally see him with like zero emotion?
He's a pretty stoic figure, yeah. So it does hit a little bit differently when you see that come out of him. Yeah, absolutely.
Klopp doesn't win a single major trade without continued requesting and transferring them. I don't know, man. I don't know. Those are like really hard what ifs. I mean,
Klopp
I don't think there's any debating that Virgin Ellison are a huge part.
Yeah, but I mean, Klopp wanted to continue to stay, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So I feel like he would have been able to build around it. Maybe it wouldn't have been necessarily Virgin Allison, but there could have been other pieces that could have led to a major trophy eventually.
And I guess, I was listening to Verge talk about the fact that, I mean, I guess at the time, if it wasn't Virgil, it was going to be somebody else, right? The money was there to be spent on a center back, and the need was for a center back. But, it was like when Coutinho is gone and you give him a boatload of money, I mean, that's the guy he wants. We waited to get him because, we saw something that we were like, this is going to work perfectly for us and you kind of a deal. So I know what Nick's saying, but that's kind of like Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though. I think you can say this, like Nick says, version Alisson allowed Klopp system to flourish. I think you can say that for most when you look at a spine of a team, right? Like right in that center there, you look at this, like the goalie, center back, usually like the defensive midfielder, and that's what you got to get straight. And that's why I think we need a six to be a solid team. If your spine is good, the rest of it is going to be a lot easier to kind of fit in. So I think any successful team you look at, you're going to name names out of that spine.
Yeah.
You're like, agreed.
There's nothing else I can add to that. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, the spine. I mean, that was the thing. It was like we didn't have it at all times. That's why it's not like basketball. You're a huge basketball guy. It's not like basketball when
you
one guy.
You're a huge basketball guy.
You're a huge basketball guy. You play? Do you not play?
I play. It doesn't mean I'm huge.
Do you not play in a league?
Yeah, but I'm old and
okay, what did you want? Like to be in the NBA or
like day to day? I'm watching 2-3 games a day.
Oh,
and
okay.
Just like I couldn't tell you that much anymore about many things. But go ahead. Continue the analogy.
Like one guy can carry a team, but you can't do that. You can't have and that was that's why I think what Stevie was as great as he was, because to be able to kind of carry that load over and over again. But then obviously towards the end, he did have some help like Suarez and stuff like that. But you need that spine to be strong to be able to have a team that's established. And then the parts around them can change. And I think that's kind of like what we've done. And sadly, we're probably coming towards the end of it with Van Dijk. And that's why I feel like it's very, very important. Out of the three players we talk about all the time, with Kazi and stuff, like Van Dijk, Trent, and Mo, I still feel like Van Dijk is the most important one, even though we're only talking probably 2-3 more years.
Yeah, but we've also talked about how in that position, especially if you start to lose the athleticism, but you have the mental capacity to be able to change the way you play a little bit. Sort of, Thiago Silva is going to be the best example of that, being able to play until he's 39, 40 years old. Obviously the body is not what it used to be, but you can still adjust the way that you play to make it work. And I think, depending on what Schlatt lines up as, it could actually help Van Dijk further that career, because he might not need to be as much of a physical presence of he has to be there all the time, as much as he just needs to be in the right positions. Rather than making it up athletically, if you will.
I didn't miss this, by the way. Ryan says Trent's tears were all about feeling defensively. Sergi says Coutinho, Bobby, Mane, and Salah, but I'll tell you what, Coutinho, those four were never going to be on the pitch at the same time. That was just never going to happen, because Coutinho could not play this midfield. So I always feel like Klopp was trying to make it work because of what Coutinho was, but I think it's one of those where meanwhile, something bad happens, but you're like, man, this is a blessing in some ways, silver lining blessing, because really did not fit. So you remove the parts that did not fit, that you were forcing to fit in some ways. That's why we were so, I thought, poor defensively. Everybody says, Van Dijk and stuff too, but shaping up that midfield with actually runners and pressers and defenders is what's kind of changed it, along with obviously Van Dijk. But yeah, moving a piece that didn't fit in Coutinho and replacing it with the spine of a team is pretty darn good business.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Let's see. Alisson probably wins us 15 to 18 points per season. That's high.
I think that's very high. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's impossible to judge, but there are times where Alisson will make a save when it's 0-0 or something like that, and that you can be like, well, this game would go upside the head, turn upside down, just because now you're playing from behind and stuff like that. So it's kind of Nick and hot take. Nick on a Monday morning with hot takes is something to cherish.
We should bring him on American Scouser and just have a section of Nick's hot takes, and I would enjoy that. because then we could just have, we could have those come out and then we could all talk about them, and that's fun.
The doubters to believers was FSG's pink hats for Liverpool. Anyone who followed this club as recent as Champions League win versus Milan knows what this club. I disagree wholeheartedly, and here's why. Honestly, in an interview, there was one of the questions, and I thought, Angie and I said at the same time, we're like, wow, that's so perfectly put. He said something about like getting the cobwebs from from the treasure, and the pulling the treasure out, the treasure chest out, and just removing the cobwebs around it. I mean, I know this. I mean, I told this to Edip, my brother, that Fenerbahce needs somebody like that. There's talks about Mourinho and stuff like that now. Somebody who's going to, because it's a huge club. Fenerbahce is a huge club, but they have not had success in the league recently. It's been like a decade or something, which is similar to Liverpool. That's that's like 30 years, 50 years. But you need somebody sometimes to kind of change the entire mode and make everybody more positive at the same time. And we always knew that Liverpool was more of a cup team, and that's mainly due to Anfield, because you play two legs. You just Anfield can like help you along to get to the final and stuff like that, but the league is a whole different ball game. It's more about being good consistently, and I feel like that doubters the believers thing is for real when a club this big like Liverpool struggles, and you kind of like get that sense that this is just not going to happen again. You need somebody to, and because that's doubts. Like anytime something happens, oh, here we go again, is doubts. You gotta remove that. Here we go again, and that's I think the biggest thing Klopp has done, because we never give up thing, right? Like we never gave up, because the team like so many last minute goals and stuff like that, and like comeback wins and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of belief, because otherwise you're all like, well, here we go again. Everything is going downhill, and shit goes downhill.
Yeah, and not even, maybe not so much just the sense of in game or what was going on, but just the ownership in general, where it was headed back before FSG bought the club, right? It just you could have had a sense of what is going to happen to this club, and you don't know what direction it's going in, and you have this uneasy feeling, right, until FSG comes in, buys the club, turns things around. So that part of it, I think, is more so the doubting to believing, in the sense of just being able to have a foundation to be proud of, a foundation to be able to then be comfortable with having, right? And knowing like Klopp is leaving, where we're sat right now, Klopp is leaving, but yet most of us, majority of us, hopefully, we're like, yeah, it's going to be okay, because of what has been built here and who is behind the scenes and what they've shown about getting the right people in and the track record of proving that and that stuff. So I think in that sense, I think that is the true doubting to believing, is that it's just, there's an actual foundation that we can really sit on and be proud of and believe in.
Yeah. Nick says about where the majority of sports actually doubters. It's not like, people are chanting we're doubters. I think it's a matter of, heck, that's probably, I feel like, talk about sometimes some teams just freaking win regardless. You never doubted that, like, the recent years you were like, we're going to come back. It's going to happen and stuff like that. Even when you were down, I think that's like having the belief. I've been on freaking teams. That's why we talk about, even the players, you got to have that belief, and it comes from like the fans sometimes, but you got to, I've been in situations where shit is not going well. So you start from zero. The moment things start turning south, you're like, let's hope we're not going the same way again over here, kind of a deal. Whereas there are times where you're like, you just almost like shrug the bad stuff off, because you're just going to recover from it. We just do our thing and we keep going. So, but that comes from the fans. If you have people there, you look at, I hate to say it, but that's what Guardiola has done. You look at City, doesn't matter. That if you're like kind of have doubts and you don't know where you're going to go, they probably collapse against Villa that game. You're like, it just slipped from our hands. I can't believe this shit, kind of a deal. But that belief kind of like keeps going. So, it's not only Klopp has done it in Liverpool. I think, Pep has done it as well. Ryan says, I believe in Big Arnie. His plan is similar to Klopp, but seems willing to change formation and tactics during the game. And honestly, yeah, we're going to see how we adjust to, like, what is your confidence level, I guess, in terms of, if you just looked at Arnie, I mean, because I think if I judge my confidence level, so it's not a fair question to you if I don't ask it like that, it's pretty high overall, like the new regime, though. But just the manager, what is your confidence level? Not
We're
looking
doing,
at Edwards and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Are we doing like a scale 1 to 10 kind of thing?
Let's do 1 to 10. 10 is
Let's.
Arnie's Klopp.
I think Klopp is beyond the 10 scale. I think is 6.5 harsh? Because I think that's where I'm at. 6.5, 7, right in there. It's hard to.
Okay, let me answer this. Why not
Yeah.
an 8? Let's go that way. Make life easier for you.
Because I'm just an idiot sitting in Chicago. That's why.
Honestly, trust me.
Because I hate to say it, but part of he just there's not always a great track record of coaches from smaller leagues that haven't had long sustained success in that league. Like it's been a quick blip of 2, 3, 4 years. So as much as I want everything to work, I don't want to also set myself up for disappointment, but I also don't want to be one of those assholes that's like, oh, he's never going to succeed. No one can ever be like Klopp. I don't even want to watch this club anymore, blah, blah, blah. But I do, I feel like I'm being a bit realistic and thinking that it could be a difficult adjustment for him because it's a major appointment. I know we talk about Klopp taking a major appointment at Liverpool, but it's not like Dortmund was a small team.
Yeah.
Right. They're the second biggest club in Germany. So, and not that Feyenoord is a small club, but they're probably the third, fourth club in the Netherlands. So I don't know the comparison between the third, fourth biggest team in the Netherlands versus the second biggest team in Germany. I don't. And Klopp had the 8-9 years at Dortmund. He had the several years at Mainz. I think there's that part of it that would, if there was a little bit more sustained success, but not that he was given the time to do it though, right? It's because Liverpool came in and they wanted him. So if he stayed, maybe he would have been able to achieve all that just fine. So I guess that's why I'm at about 6.5, 7.
I don't even know where I'm at, to be honest.
But that's also
sounds good.
What Nick is saying though is what are we defining success as?
I think keeping us in the mix in all things, kind of like we are now, is what I kind of define it as. A trophy here and there, but keeping us in the mix, basically
top 4
being top 4. Top 4 goes without saying is where I'm at. I mean, not just top 4 like Spurs or something like that. Top 4 goes without saying because we're in the race. We might not be at the very end, but we're going to be in the mix. That's probably what I kind of see success as. And then obviously you're doing well in varying levels in different tournaments and stuff like that. I actually kind of want someone kind of young and dumb, someone that doesn't get caught up in shits. I'm lost.
You take that one.
Well, I'll take this one. Well, I'm lost. I just did, and I'm lost. Young and dumb for the manager? No, I don't want young and dumb. Maybe young and dumb in the sense that not dumb, but young and naive, or
naive.
Young and not
I was gonna say naive is probably a good word.
I don't know. I think I'm at 7 and maybe 7.5 only, and that half probably comes from who chose him, which is basically goes back. I guess it's a curve grading over here, but I think I trust that they know something that we don't all know and see. We're just looking at basically the resume, and honestly, I can't sit here and say I wish we had this guy instead. And that's, I think, where I'm at. I can't find a lot of names where I'm no, I wish we got this guy. Why do we get this guy? I don't think naive is the word. See, yeah, sometimes that helps because then if you don't understand the gravity, you're not gonna get you're not gonna get squashed underneath it. But I mean, he has to realize that this is going to be a lot trickier than. Um, I mean, Chelsea and United will spend their way. I don't know. I mean, United fans have been probably saying that themselves for the last decade, but just money is not going to be. Um, I don't think. Look, I look at that. I was going to ask you this actually too. I'm glad like Nick said that. I listened to him yesterday, and like after the match, and he's looking at the team and stuff, and he knows how we started. I bet you he thinks, man, if this happens, and if we do this, and if we do that, man, this team can be something. But I just don't have the energy to do all those things, and those things take a lot of energy. That's kind of like what I'm getting from him. I don't think he is like, we're not going to get anywhere for a while. I think he feels like we will, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I just don't. It's like me, like I look at projects around the house and I'm like, that'd be great, but who the fuck is going to do that? So that's the mode I see Klopp in.
Yeah, and because it's not like we've talked about it time and time again. He's not leaving the club in a really rough spot with a bunch of players on expiring contracts who are just on their last leg trying to still play together. There's a lot of young pieces. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of good in the club. It just comes down to what other few pieces do you need to kind of fit the rest of this puzzle? And the puzzle is something that we don't know what it's going to look like quite yet. I think that's the only tough thing is we don't know what Schlot's puzzle looks like, and we don't know what other pieces he's going to necessarily need. And it's going to be very telling once the Trent, the Van Dijk things get sorted, hopefully sooner rather than later. But that's always just wishful thinking. With the Euros this year, it's hard to know how much business there's going to be during that period at all. So it would have to come before, so it would be pretty early, or after, which then it would be kind of late. So it's going to be a weird summer. And it is. And to your point about, not really knowing who else to have in charge, I think it's just because we've been spoiled by Klopp. And when in our eyes, there are good managers, there are good tacticians, but there isn't quite someone like him charismatically, the personality. So it's hard for us to find someone else. If we had been through, like Graham Potter, and then we had someone come in, like Pochettino. I don't know, like just when we have a bunch of different managers coming in at once, and then you're trying to find someone, it's a lot easier to pick someone else because you're like, well, we haven't really had great around, so I'm good with whatever. Now it's more like we've kind of had the best, so we have to settle, if you will.
Yeah, we haven't been shopping, right?
No.
Like you don't. I don't know. I haven't been shopping, like, because like I would have to start from all over is where I'm at. Like I'm happy with my TV, so I don't even know what's out there right now because I'm like going TV shopping. So I'm sure there's like really good models out there now, but I'm happy with what I have. I find that in the similar concept, like I haven't really looked. I mean, even when you watch a team and you're like, oh, I like how they play and stuff like that, it never crossed my mind that like I wish it was this guy instead of Klopp or something like that. So I guess that was never going to be the word. Sergi says Ten Hag has success with Ajax, but we all know he shit. Hard to rate Slot in a league several levels below a farmers league. First of all, it's not several levels below. That's kind of like an exaggeration. But I honestly think Ten Hag is not as bad as United makes him out to be. I think there's way too many factors so is Mourinho a terrible coach? I mean, they have had managers who are not horrible managers, but the system is jacked up. So there's so many other factors. People talking to the players in the background, players talking to each other. There's so much drama. I don't think you can get the management out of them. One thing I like Slot over Ten Hag is I think Slot can beat Ten Hag in a fist fight. So that's one. And then two, I see him more, I don't know, this is a personal preference, and I feel like it does fit Liverpool better as well, though, is somebody a bit more energetic on the sidelines. Like a stoic manager on the sidelines. It doesn't fit me. That's a personal thing more than anything else. I want my manager to be in the game a little bit and, show emotion, I guess, let's say. But aside from that, I feel like it fits the city and the club more having a manager like that as opposed to dude like just taking notes, sitting down kind of a deal.
Well, like an Ancelotti type.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said though, that's personal, but I do think it fits Liverpool better too. I don't know if I'm. I don't know what.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I agree with you there, and I do think there is a huge difference in the way that they conduct themselves, and part of that is we're going to see how it's easy to say that he is one way or another way in a different league, and then once he comes over here, and then maybe the pressure of if whatever pressure there may be, with all of the press conferences and everything he has to go through, maybe that demeanor slightly changes. Like we saw Ange come in, he was this big, happy-go-lucky. He was just so full of energy, so full of life. He was just happy to be here, and now he looks like he wants to die. Like it just, and I mean, part of that though is the rooting problems of a certain club. So I don't think Liverpool has those problems. I think that's part of it with Ten Hag at United, is that there's just underlying problems there that need to get taken care of. That's not working in his favor right now, obviously. But yeah, it's good to have someone who is a bit more charismatic, who is a bit more kind of on his feet, if you will. Just kind of maybe just more like a dog that's happy to see you come home, not like a cat that's just sharing space with you. Ten Hag is a cat. Boom. Schlatt is a dog. Dogs are better than cats. End of the argument. We're done.
Yeah, there is no argument there. Dogs are better than cats. Yeah, it's just those without saying. And these guys will back me up on this. God, so much Dutch hate. Manager's supposed to be a good man manager. Ten Hag appears to. See, I just don't think. I don't think Klopp makes it at United. We talked about this with Spurs. Actually, I think it was last Wednesday. Actually, it's supposed to be like a clip out later today or tomorrow, actually, about it. I don't think he does because he leaves, or because I don't see like Ten Hag. Do you see like Ten Hag is the man in charge? You don't. There's so much chaos. You don't know who the hell is in charge. I think that's one thing, for all the shit that people were getting FSG. I think you kind of knew that there were some boundaries, but then Klopp was the man in charge, and there was no debating that. It's a lot easier to manage when there are nobody behind you. They can go to afterwards and stuff like that, and like other factors. The buck stops here, kind of a thing. I think it's a lot easier to be a man manager when the buck stops with you, and it's my way or the highway, where you can like go around and like, well, let me go ask mom then, and stuff like that. So I feel like Ten Hag is not. I mean, the game has moved on from a manager like Ten Hag. I feel like it's like the dude just is like up and coming in some ways. Like Mourinho, maybe you can say he doesn't relate to the young players as well, the new social media player, if you will, and he's more like old school. Rafa is Rafa. But I don't know, like, I don't see Ten Hag as brutal as, I'm not saying he's a great manager. I'm just saying he's in a situation where he can't freaking win. And when Mourinho even says that was my best management job at like freaking like United, because he knows what he has to battle up against. And that was Mourinho coming with a lot of like, clout doing that. Ten Hag is coming from Ajax, so he didn't have what Mourinho had. I don't know. It's kind of hard to be a man manager when you're not the man.
Yeah, it's almost like a lose-lose. And and like you just said, Mourinho came over with all these accolades. He has the experience, he has the trophies. So even if he can't connect with the younger players on a more like a man-to-man level, they will still respect him for who he is because of what he has been able to do and who he has coached, who he's been around with in these locker rooms, like players that, some of these guys may never be able to have a chance to share a locker room with, right? So that's a big part of it. And Ten Hag, as well as he did at Ajax, we know it as pretty much the the development of young talent that then they sell out to all the bigger clubs. So they're just sort of the hub where you get all these young guys to just ship them out. So yeah, you can connect with them potentially like a little bit better because you're developing them. But then, once they're already developed and you go to a club that has the likes of like Rashford, right, who doesn't need more developing, or Bruno, where these guys are already who they are, then that might be more difficult to connect with because you haven't managed those kinds of guys, right? And I'm not saying that Ajax doesn't have anyone over the age of 23 because obviously they do. They have some of those veteran presences in the squad, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
And I think, and I've been in these situations where if you take over something where they've churned out manager after manager, it's even harder to kind of impose your will because people think we'll get rid of you too, man. There'll be another one coming in just like you. We've seen people like you come and go, kind of an ordeal. So it makes it even more challenging to be able to do it just because people get in this mode like your voice is not as important because we had a new voice last year, bro. Like you're just like a different guy kind of thing. See, you're lucky.
Why do we?
You're
have to
lucky.
do this?
John
Why do
isn't here to
this?
slap you upside the head. There, Ryan. Purchases. Oh man, yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll probably chat a little bit about that tonight, if we have some time in terms of But I do think, and that's one thing that I want to ask the boys tonight as well. I do think there is going to be a lot of moves early, like what you were saying earlier. I think we go before the Euro than after Ryan is trading.
Just stop, dude. Henderson can't play more than 30 minutes anymore at a high level. Please. You
wouldn't want Hendo coming off the bench in the 60th.
The Michael
I'm not trading it for Gravenberg, but
the Michael Jordan meme where he's like, stop, go
Get
find some
help.
Yeah. I wouldn't, because I don't even think the half hour anymore to close out would be good enough for Hendo. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh.
He should have stayed and done freaking just that.
He should have done that this year. You know how much more of a difference that would have made? I think losing both Hendo and Milner was terrible for the club. And maybe that's just why I'm bitter, because it could have helped in some of the, but maybe
and look at how much he would have actually played, because he would have probably played at the 6.
Right. I mean, I guess maybe we wouldn't have had Endo sign if Hendo was still around.
That's true.
So there's a couple ways to look at it. Not that Endo was the best thing we've ever signed, and wish we did kind of thing. But yeah, it's I don't know about Hendo, man. I don't know.
Ryan says Grammar can play. God, the Dutch hate this morning. Jesus. It's been rough for the Dutch. I don't know. I feel like, we're going to change our opinion a lot on a lot of players within a new system and stuff like that. And that could be on a good way. That could be on a bad way too. Like somebody who looks like, I worry about like a player like Elliott, for example, who's looked great. And I think, maybe because of the familiarity, with the system, he knows exactly what needs to be done. And will he adjust to a new system? Whereas somebody else might be like, see, thank God, Michael, to save the day over here. He's just like 22. I blame Costas as well. Just because. He wasn't listening either, by the way. Did you guys notice that in the thing? He was laughing, giggling with somebody else. I think he's leaving, guys. So many rumors can be started. So many rumors.
Yeah, speaking, because I know we alluded to it earlier. There was a little video of Klopp dancing, and Nunez was the one that pushed him into the dance circle and having fun. So every single thing that people said about Nunez on the field, like, oh, he wasn't clapping, he wasn't doing this or that, squashed within a mere moment.
I'm spinning the story.
Yeah,
that's why you pushed him. He's pushing him out.
It's just
in
silly.
Some ways.
Speaking of signings, real quick, because this is now silly season is starting, and I also do request that next week Monday, what we should do is we should go into our Discord channel that has the predictions from last season and just look them over and see how we did. Just for fun, because we did that last year.
Let me look at those, and then I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you if we should do that or not.
That would be fun. But speaking of transfers, Aston Villa are in advanced talks. This is going to be the big one of the summer, to sign Ross Barkley from Luton Town. Game changer.
What? Shut up.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Like, you're starting this rumor, or this is an existing rumor?
No, this is a real one, that Ross Barkley is going to go to Aston Villa. He's staying in the Prem.
Oh, Aston Villa. I thought he was coming to us.
No, did I not say Aston Villa?
I misheard, and I was like, wait, that's a horrible rumor. And I have one. Even Edwards is like, what? I can see that. I mean, honestly, he was great for Luton.
Yeah, he was good in his role.
But is that because it was Luton?
Yeah, I don't know. I see him as a worse John McGinn, and you don't really need another one of those. I think if maybe for depth in the Champions League, but yeah, it's a little.
Or maybe
weird.
they just get rid of McGinn.
No, you'd get rid of McGinn over Barkley. No,
I don't know. You can only have one of those guys. You know what I mean? Maybe you get
McGinn's been around for too long.
Yeah,
I don't think they could do that to him.
That's true too.
I guess
they
could.
I do want to. Yeah, that's a good idea to go through those. And I know, like this year, we will do, because when we did the predictions team by team, like 2 seasons ago, there were a lot of like hot takes. Wait, Messi's starting. Yes, Messi's coming to us. Bringing Suarez and Jordi Alba with him, because his entourage with him everywhere he goes. By the way, yeah, that's a whole different conversation. I was just reading an article about the wages of like Miami compared to everybody else and stuff like that. And I'm like, how is this even like happening? It's worse than City and everybody else. It was just like horrible. But
even because the MLS clubs are paying Messi's salary too. It's not just Miami's paying it, but all the clubs agreed to also pitch into his salary because they know what he's going to do for the league. Yeah, it's pretty silly.
I mean, that's like, how can you take a league seriously? And I don't understand how they expect to be taken seriously. I know what the goal was with bringing Messi and stuff like that. But dude, then get rid of something else, do a salary cap exception, one player every team or some bullshit like that, because that's like Luton saying Mo is very important, so we'll pay half his wages for you guys or something like that for the Premier League. Just like makes no freaking sense. Go buy yourself a player, damn it, instead of paying other people's shit. But that's Major League Soccer for you. That's another episode for another day, which, that's a long story.
And last thing for Surzy here, we let this season finish. There's still the FA Cup to play for.
You can tell who does the channel names and stuff in Discord. He took that pretty person. I take that person.
Because if we update the Discord channels, I have to take the trophy away from the Carabao Cup, and we should hold on to that for a little bit longer.
The designated player, right? But is that
the DP? But there's still a structure for the wage payment there, though.
I was gonna say there's still a cap on it. Like you can't have right, and that's what the problem, I guess, with Messi is.
Yeah, but Messi's also getting like some of Apple money from the season pass, and
Go City and Dortmund. Yes, in both cases, I'm rooting for that because United out of Europe could be a bad thing, I guess, in the long run too. They can focus on the league. Just kidding. Okay. Couldn't even finish the sentence straight faced. It's Monday, grooming day at the Polish Prince household. What do we got going? Who's getting groomed? You don't even know the schedule.
Yeah, yesterday messed everything up. I don't think there's grooming today. Nope.
Just recovering from yesterday.
Just recovery. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, we all gonna need. It's gonna take probably some time, but honestly, I think the moment, and maybe give credit to Liverpool. I think that's why they're kind of like letting this breathe, if you will, instead of like maybe announcing slots right after the game or something like that. There'll be a couple of days more of Klopp, I think, and then once the new guys get signed, and I do think we do business early. I think everything is in place. The moment the leagues are over in a lot of the cases, but not in some of the cases. So there'll be a lot of signings coming up, I think, early. So we shall see. But I'll be back tonight with the boys. We'll analyze Linda's dresses and Mo's facial expressions all freaking night, probably. So do tune in for that, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And we'll see you guys then. Take care.